Part 4, Contracts and Negotiations. Chapter 19, Types of Contracts. You could tell me, okay, Agnes, I get it all, but what kind of proposals can I offer my students? The most common types are the following: a contract in which the student pays you per hour, a contract in which the student pays you per month, and a contract in which the student pays you per project. Which one is better? Well, there are pros and cons in each one of them that will depend on the student's needs. Let's break them down so you can understand them better. Per hour. There are some advantages here. If a particular student has special needs, such as interviews, urgent trips, etc., you can offer them some extra classes apart from your regular contract. Extra cash is always welcome at the end of the month. Another advantage to this format is that if your prospect can't have regular classes because of their schedule availability, you can sell them sporadic classes. Some examples of professionals I have already worked with in this format are flight attendants and doctors, ones that might have irregular working hours. In such cases, I negotiate with them that 1 week before, when they know their schedule for the following days, we see if our availability matches. If it does, we can have 1, 2, 3 classes in a week or 0 in another one if our schedules do not match. And they will pay me according to the number of classes they have. I only use this option with professions with very regular hours, and only when I am willing to use my free hours for extra classes. This format works well if you consider these payments as an extra income, as you cannot whatsoever count on them to pay your bills. Using this format for all your students may bring you some difficulties. You can never know how much exactly you will make at the end of the month. This can generate an enormous anxiety as well as financial difficulties due to the ups and downs of your variable salary. Your students might cancel lessons to save money. Unfortunately, life has not been easy to anyone. If your student is struggling to pay their bills in a certain month, they will have to cut down on costs. The first one they will think of is to reduce 1 or 2 classes that month. This way, they will be able to save some money. Conversely, you'll be earning less. It will be harder to find students on vacation months. People deserve breaks. Who, then, will start a course or keep having classes when they're traveling, resting, having fun? They will show up only at the end of their holiday. Meanwhile, you will struggle to pay your bills, as bills are the only thing who never abandons us throughout our lives. If students are paying per hour, they will not think twice before taking a break during summer break. Non-paid holidays or vacations. Similarly, despite what some people think, teachers are human, not machines. We also deserve breaks, pauses, rest. However, if you only earn while you're teaching, how can you have these breaks? I have talked to teachers who either never stop, or if they do it just for a couple of days around Christmas time, or when they have vacation days, they end up completely broke, for they are making no money at all. That is certainly the best recipe for a nervous breakdown. Remember, even God rested on the seventh day. Contracts per month. In comparison with getting paid per hour, a fixed monthly income will help you plan your financial life somewhat better, as you will know at the end of each month how much you're gonna make. Another advantage of this format is that, in case there are city, national, or international holidays during that particular month, you get paid anyway. However, it is only an advantage if you do make good use of it. I have seen people who do not feel comfortable getting paid without having taught a lesson. So, they either make up for these hours, or they do not enjoy that well-deserved pause, working as if it were not a holiday. What happens here? Teachers again end up working non-stop or working much more on other days in order to enjoy the holiday, which might take a toll on their mental health eventually. What are some disadvantages of this format? Students might get upset to pay for classes they didn't have. Most people will understand the need of rest for everyone, but a lot of people will feel it's not their responsibility to pay for their teacher's rest. As some may complain, you may need to deal with finding a solution here, such as working on that holiday, making up for these hours on another day, offering discounts in months that there are holidays, or putting your foot down by saying that this is the way you work. Period. At the end of the day, either solution will end up being unfair to one of you. Sadly, there is no win-win situation here. Students tend to cancel their courses near vacation months. For the same reasons aforementioned, there might be a good number of students who will cancel their courses in June, in November, at the beginning of December. They will not be willing to pay for classes they won't have, and many will neither have the time nor the energy to have makeup lessons for this period, so they prefer to cancel. Another disadvantage is that they might want to take a break when they're on work vacation. If they won't take lessons with you for 2-3 weeks, they will prefer to take a break from their courses, affecting your finances unexpectedly. It is hard to find students to start new projects near vacation months. Considering these cases of cancellations around vacation months, the same principle will apply to people who have the intention to start a language course. They will only think about starting a course when their vacation is coming to an end. What happens to you at this point? You might be facing anxiety, financial difficulties, frustration, and whatever other negative thoughts that will inevitably swarm your mind with. You may regret having chosen freelance teaching, thinking that however beautiful the idea of working freelance may be, it does not work in real life. What can you do if you want to work this way then? One solution is to plan these situations in advance. By deciding to be a prepared freelance teacher, you'll be able to save part of your earnings so that when a few students leave, you manage your finances in the lean times. My tip: when you're planning your work hour, one thing that you can do is to include in the price formation an extra amount in order to cover this period of high number of course cancellations. So take a look at the chapter about pricing so that you can forecast it carefully. Per project. Let us understand what per project means. I have been using this format since 2003 with most of my students. I consider it extremely useful in my business. How does it work? I sell a package of hours to my students and they pay me for these hours. I tell them my availability and they choose a day and a schedule. This day and time will be theirs. Each student has a fixed schedule. Should they need to change their day or schedule, we have to negotiate a new option according to my availability. Take a look at a few examples about these packages. The first option I offer the prospect is a 42-hour contract. If they take lessons with me once a week, they will finish the contract in a year's time. You might ask yourself, if the year has 52 weeks, why does she offer only 42 hours? The answer is 42 hours mean 42 weeks of classes. The remaining 10 hours are for holidays and vacation. I opted not to sell 52 hours, otherwise I would have to either work the entire year non-stop, or I would have to make up for countless hours if I wanted to have vacation, which would certainly take a toll on my mental health after a while. So, by choosing to sell fewer hours, I can rest more properly, and so can my students. How do I offer them this package? I usually offer them two alternatives. If they have 1 hour a week, they will pay me 12 equal payments as their contract finishes in 12 months. If they have 2 hours a week, the contract will finish in half the time, which means 6 months. So the option of payment will drop to 6 equal payments. Example, if you have defined your work hour as 100 per hour, then 42 hours will cost the student the total of 4,200, which is 42 hours times 100. This is the total of the contract. If they choose to have 1 hour per week, they will pay you 12 installments of 350, which is 4,200 divided by 12. If they choose to have 2 hours a week, they will pay you 6 installments of 700, which is 4,200 divided by 6. They can choose to pay you in fewer months, or they can pay you the total amount at the beginning of the contract. In this case, they will probably try to negotiate a discount. Take a look at the chapter 17 for discounts. But please hear me out here. Students should always finish paying for their course before the course actually finishes to avoid future disappearances. When students come to me from a recommendation, they see no problem closing a contract with me that lasts a year long. However, when they come to me from social media, they can feel a bit insecure of signing up a long-term contract. If they finalize it, or even if I just feel their insecurity, I offer variations of this project. Take a look at some alternatives for a 42-hour contract using the same work hour of 100. A 21-hour contract, having 1 hour per week, will last approximately 6 months. Total of the contract is 2,100, 6 equal payments of 350. A 21-hour contract, having 2 hours per week, will last approximately 3 months. Total of the contract, 2,100, 3 equal payments of 700. As you may have noticed, the price for the student will not change. The only thing that will change is the length of the deal. They usually feel reassured that it's safer to do so, and they sign up for our lessons together. However, if they are still uncertain, we can work with even shorter possibilities. A 12-hour contract, having 1 hour per week, will last approximately 3 months. Total of the contract 1,200, 3 equal payments of 400. A 12-hour contract, having 2 hours a week, will finish in 6 weeks. Total of the contract 1,200, 2 equal payments of 600. The rare occasions I use this model, first payment as soon as the classes start, the second and last payment around the 4th week of classes. In this case, I tell them this is an exception so that they can get to know me better. But my objective is not to be dealing with contracts every 3 months. So after these first 3 months, I make it clear that I will prefer to have a renewal with a longer contract. If they ask me why, I give them 2 explanations. You can come up with yours, of course. Firstly, I tell them that the price may suffer rises in the near future, and the lower the contract, the less the risk of getting it raised anytime soon. Secondly, because bureaucracy is not my thing, I prefer to invest my time preparing lessons and working with students, not negotiating new contracts all the time. At the end of the day, it will be good for both of us. What usually happens in such cases is that almost 100% of the people that come from social media or from any other cold contact, which means without any type of recommendation, end up signing up a longer contract after the experimental one. I also work with this particular scenario of 12 hours in case a student has very specific needs and who is not likely to carry on taking classes after that. For instance, a student who already speaks English fluently and wants to practice before an international trip, a student who will receive a visitor for the first time, a student who will make a preparation for the first time and wants to practice, one who will have an interview in the next few weeks and wants to feel prepared, and so on. Feel free to choose your numbers though. 20 hours, 40 hours, 120 hours, the sky is the limit. Once you have understood how the system works, you can make adjustments to your reality. I have used this format for decades, for I feel it gives me a lot of flexibility and it has been working pretty well in my freelance business. One good advantage of this format is that we can start a new contract absolutely any time of the year, unlike when we work in semesters. For instance, in 2023, I had 2 students who started 1 week before my vacation. 1 week before Christmas time is almost unimaginable in other formats. They started their course, had 2 classes, and then their classes resumed at the end of January. These new students gave me the possibility of some unplanned extra cash during my vacation. I must say, it is not so uncommon to happen. I have had situations like this many times along my freelance career, as the contract is not limited to a semester. The pro here is that I don't get anxious around vacation periods if someone leaves me, as I can have new people anytime. There are pros and cons of each format you decide to use, and situations in which one will be more applicable than the other, as you may have noticed. Having a deeper perspective of each will give you a broader idea of what makes more sense to you. There is no right or wrong in a freelance career. There are possibilities, and the ones which will work out better for you. My tip though, irrespective of the format you choose, I insist that you always have some money saved for financial emergencies, as you never know what can change tomorrow.